Pokemon typings are one of the staples and one of my adorations of the Pokemon world. These reflections of the personality of the Pokemon just through typing alone allows for so much distinction. Fire type's passion, the serenity of water, the mysticism of fairy. What makes it so special is that it just isn't unique to Pokemon, as we found out with our last video regarding our Bleach captains. Today, we're diving into my personal favorite anime group, the Espada. Bleach's Espada have so much development, variety, and characterization amongst its members, making for them a perfect group for this pressing question. What if every Espada had a Pokemon type? If you haven't already, please drop a like and let's find out if my list is as controversial as the last. As Espada go in numerical order, we're starting off with Aranero. We first encounter him in the form of Cayenne Shiba, where he faces off versus our resident best girl Rukia. He immediately had an ominous and malevolent energy. After all, he's taken over the form and even Zanpakuto of Cayenne. At first, it almost seems like a ghostly possession of the body. This immediately made me sure that one of his typings would be Ghost, but I don't believe Ghost to be his primary typing, but instead his secondary. Aranero's abilities are evolutionary in nature, but the more Hollows and Shinigami he absorbs, the more manifestations of abilities he can use, and as well he even gains the memory of his victims. Due to this incredibly versatile and adaptable ability, I believe his primary typing should be Water. Water is ever-changing and fluid, it fits to any form it's inside, much like Aranero. Hell, to further drive it home, Cayenne's abilities he steals are water-based. All of this together makes for the perfect combination of a Water and Ghost type for our 9th Espada member. Xylopera was one of the most insane and devious members of the entire gamut of Bleach characters. In fact, he's so impactful that Mayuri while fighting Pernita is even haunted by the memory of him. And with his appearance in the one-shot No Breaths from Hell, he's clearly one of Kubo's favorites. A mad scientist with a penchant for violence, there seems to be a theme amongst all the scientists in the story. With his Xylopera being arguably one of the most intelligent Espada, and combined with his narcissism and instability, he's truly in his own world, and his delusions of grandeur of himself being the perfect being leads to one of Mayuri's all-time quotes about perfection. All this to say, for being Espada number 8, he is one of the most influential Espada due to his unique zest and flavor. Due to him being so developed and having so much flair, one of his typings was immediately apparent to me, especially through his Resurrection and his abilities. His Resurrection gives him purple tentacles that look toxic and poisonous, and with his ability of Carbon Copy, he unleashes black liquid from his back and thereby copies the user's abilities. And to add to his abilities, he also has the Possession ability, and that's if his body's eaten, his body liquidates and invades the nervous system of his opponent. It's so easy to see one of his typings is clearly poison. Just like Mayuri, he has a penchant for poison, and it fits the archetype perfectly. However, I believe Xylopera has one other typing. To pair with his incredible intelligence, one of his abilities within Puppet Theater, he has a subsequent Voodoo Doll ability where he can control other people's bodies, and it's very clear to me that because of these abilities and his personality, his other typing is Psychic due to these witchcraft-like powers. Xylopera is a Psychic poison type. Zamari, our 7th Espada, radiates a calm and zen-like demeanor, and he's even seen meditating, which is a huge juxtaposition of nature compared to a lot of our other members. With his self-assuredness and superiority complex, he gets matched up against someone whose belief in himself isn't pumped up by his own ego. Rather, he's simply him. Byakuya's battle versus Zamari was incredibly satisfying as a watcher, and witnessing his protective nature of Rukia, especially after the last arc, just wow. Zamari boasts that his Sonido is the fastest amongst all the Espada, which makes him an easy candidate for electric type due to his self-proclaimed speed feats. He's so fast that he leaves a mirage of where he was previously, which initially in my rereading had me feeling a strong consideration for what typing would pair with this electric trickery. His Zanpakuto's ability Brujeria translates directly to witchcraft, and rightfully so. His Resurrection ability is terrifying to look at honestly, and with the ability of stealing sovereignty of whatever his eyes see, he can completely manipulate the limbs of his opponents and can become a puppet master. Due to the nature of his Zanpakuto, he's clearly a Psychic type as well, which blends perfectly with the abilities of his speed clones. Grimmjow is undoubtedly one of everybody's favorite Espada and one of the most exciting characters of the series. Grimmjow has it all, a sick aesthetic with the best hollow mask placement, immense aura, and the power buff that comes with being one of Ichigo's rivals. Grimm is animalistic and exists with the king of the jungle mentality. He's impulsive, violent, and brutal. He seeks the thrill of combat and being the best. Anyone or anything that gets in the way of what he wants, which is often fighting Ichigo, they then become his enemy whether they're fellow Espada or not. Despite his brutal nature, Grimmjow does have his own sense of morality for fighting, where he doesn't fight Ichigo while injured and wants to instead fight him at full strength. He has a lot of similarities with Kenpachi with his desire to fight someone at their best, and I think it's super easy to see that he's a fighting type. He's a master of throwing hands, amazing with his blade, and his Pokemon typing is his literal purpose as he continues to evolve as an individual through it. Being just a fighting type would be fitting enough, but due to his immense durability feats throughout the series, I think he has a secondary typing. After all, he can block a Shikai with his bare hands and can grab Ichigo's Bankai without any damage. He has an impregnable defense that amps even higher with his resurrection, and with his resurrection form he can take an Ichigo mask on Getsugo Tensho without much damage. I'd be remiss if I didn't give Grimmjow his second typing of Steel. Noritora, our 5th Espada, has an air of insanity, and with his face always stuck on a really scary smile, and the way he treats Orihime and Nell is, detestable to say the least. Noritora shares the same love of battle as Grimmjow, except without honor, and he just wants bloodshed. I had forgotten until my reread how much I love to hate him and root against him. He's one of those villains in Bleach who is truly just a bad dude. Aesthetically, he looks a lot like a praying mantis, and the similar design of Jack the Ripper from Black Clover is uncanny. His insect similarities go further because he has an appearance of being thin and fragile, but he's incredibly durable and strong, especially when comparing his size to strength. His Zanpakuto's name translates directly to praying mantis, and it's a super sick scythe, and his resurrection gives his scythe insect-like appendages. Hell, he can even grow additional arms once they get chopped off, furthering the insect comparison. With his resurrection, he can also generate scythe-like weapons from his arms, and his character feels truly connected to Steel once I put it all together. Noritora's typing is one of the most intuitive on this list. He's a classic bug Steel type. The very character who inspired me to watch Bleach and whose design I mirrored for my profile picture of the channel, he's the embodiment of a perfect design. He has the most vampire-like aesthetic of any character in Bleach. With his representation of nihilism, his personality along with the hollow hole in his chest represent the aspect of a heart, and this heart concept is part of the crux of his character. At almost all times he speaks with a monotone voice and gives the impression for his lack of care for anything and everything. He lacks malice and isn't quick to seek violence, instead he acts with a cold authority and calmness. This stillness and disposition places him as a dark type to me. With Ulquiorra's abilities being some of the fastest of the Arrancar and the most unique, I felt he had a second typing based on this. His Zanpakuto translates to Great Black Winged Demon, and his resurrection gives him wings like a bat where he's able to fly while speed blitzing Ichigo. Due to this flying ability and the theme of wings surrounding his character, Ulquiorra's second Pokemon typing is flying, making him a dark flying type. One of Bleach's best girls and our former 3rd Espada member, Nell is undoubtedly one of the most loved characters of the story. She has a childlike and kind demeanor, and she's in direct juxtaposition to her environment of Hueco Mundo. Comparatively, she's a flower in a field of darkness, and with her green aesthetic matching this calm and peaceful aura, she is the first grass-type Espada of our list. Her Espada uniform as an adult gives her hoof-like gauntlets, a neck cover and sleeves of fur, and this animal-like stylistic choice is continued with her resurrection turning her into a centaur. Her mask grows more pronounced horns, and her lower body becomes that of a horse. Her sword as well turns to a lancer, which gives an ancient and mythical design. Due to this, her second typing is fairy, and it fits perfectly due to its synergistic nature with the inherent nature of grass. Our 3rd Espada member who now rules over Hueco Mundo after Aizen's defeat is none other than Halle Bell. Halle Bell has an extremely stoic demeanor in most circumstances, however her defensiveness and intensity surges when those she cares for are threatened. Her dichotomy reflects the change of the tides which matches her Zanpakuto. Her Zanpakuto translates to Shark Empress, and her abilities are all water-based. Her resurrection encases her with water, and once she cuts out of this water, she emerges transformed with her shoulder pads having shark-like fins, and her sword now becoming a giant shark tooth. She literally becomes a shark goddess, and all of her enhanced abilities from her trident to her waterfall all have a very obvious primary water typing. However, one of her abilities allows her to boil water, and I speculated a potential dual typing of fire secondary, but I feel Halle Bell is the most fitting as a single and pure water type. Of course, the Espada had to have one badass old man. Barangon was the previous king of Hueco Mundo, and he embodies regality and grace. He's prideful and destructive, and his aspect of death of senescence representing age is perfect for his character. His abilities are all time-related, such as his time dilation, which slows down time, and as well age acceleration, which speeds it up. It's pretty broken as an ability due to its inherent hacks. Baragon's resurrection translates to decay, where he becomes a god of death taking the form of a skeleton with a crown, and all of his age abilities are amplified where he can even age buildings just from walking near them. To add to the hacks, any attacks that come near him decay before even making contact, which gives him a sense of invulnerability. Due to all these things, his first typing is clearly Ghost. One of his other abilities translates to Breath of Death, where he emits a dark smoke, and everything it comes into contact with ages and rots. This fog-like ability is akin to a poison cloud, which gives him his secondary typing of poison. Baragon is a Ghost poison type. Coyote Stark has a demeanor of someone who isn't number one. He's fairly lazy and disinterested in most of the happenings, giving him a nonchalant and mysterious vibe. His character is embodied by loneliness, and his strength isolated him so much that he splits his soul in two and formed a lily net so that he'd never be alone. His bag in terms of abilities is pretty deep, and he's the only Espada to have pistols that fire Ceros. With his resurrection, these pistols are occupied by Lilynet's soul, and she can speak through Stark via her new form. This weirdness of an ability narrowed down his typings to either Ghost, Fairy, or Psychic. Stark has an ability where he can use his soul partition where he summons a pack of wolves to hunt down his foes, giving him a further niche specialty. His typings is one of the most difficult to choose thus far, but have continually lead towards him being a Fairy type due to the unique aspect of his soul splitting and the crux of his abilities being various Sero-related attacks. While I was considering the typings, I did heavily consider giving him Ghost due to his comparison with Shunzui, but Fairy and Ghost serve as a great duality of typings, which makes their matchup even more perfect. Due to Stark's personality and his emphasis on loneliness, Stark gains a secondary typing of Dark. The Fairy and Dark combination is broken, which is perfect for our Primera Espada. However, this list doesn't end at number 1, it ends at 0. Yami is our number 0 Espada, which served as a giant reveal in the anime where he has a huge power spike and turns into a behemoth of a monster. When Yami first entered the story, it was clear to me that he was the embodiment of carnal rage and destruction. Ulquiorra, while in their partnership, kept him under control, but he was always quite literally the sleeping giant. Yami's disposition is that of a brute. He lacks intense thought and consideration for much except fighting. He lives for blood and testing his strength, and his character is that of a berserker. With his released Aira, he increases in strength the angrier he becomes. Yami is the only Espada to be able to eat souls and grow stronger with this ability that translates to soul inhalation. This aspect of being able to eat and consume souls fits his monstrous vibe, and it's frankly scary. To me, it's pretty clear that his first typing is fighting due to this complete theme of rage, conflict, and complete destruction. The second typing though is where it gets trickier. It's stated that Yami has the second strongest defenses and has iron skin. I'd personally argue that with his number 0 form he's tankier than Noritora, but let's go with the canon of him having the second strongest. With his resurrection, it turns him into a mountain-sized monster with his mask growing to parts of his face and skull. He then grows spikes on his back and grows more appendages that seem to be bone infused. He loses the previous aesthetic of partly human and hollow and instead now becomes beast. I'd consider that he could have a steel secondary typing due to the immense defenses, but where I believe his second typing should be is ground. He quite literally becomes a mountain fused with bone and spike, and he seems to fuse with the earth itself, and due to this pairing, there's so few things that could legitimately harm him. His aspect of being an entity of destruction makes him a true calamity like Groudon, making the ground typing perfect for him. From the calmness of grass, the perseverance of fighting, and the mysticism of fairy, every Espada represents on an elemental level the characteristics that make up this world. There's an inherent subconscious association we have with the elements, and it's something we understand on a primordial level. Pokemon takes these typings and represents them to the fullest extent, and Kupo masterfully made their abilities and personalities align with this very concept, making for a perfect pairing of their Pokemon typings. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos with a topic just like this, let me know in the comment section below along with what typings I got right and what typings I missed. This has been hiXtrah, and as always, be greedier and I will catch you all next time.